responsibility has three deeply interconnected meanings. To have control over someone or something, the duty to deal with something, and to be accountable. In that regard, I consider responsibility a key notion of humanity. According to many thinkers, it was the Neolithic Revolution, the domestication of wheat and the adoption of sedentary lifeways that separated humankind from its environment, or as Timothy Morton says, brought along the constitution of the environment separated from man. In fact, historically, the modern concept of man is founded upon this opposition of conceptualizing ourselves as humans as opposed to all other beings, and simultaneously conceptualizing animals and other beings as non-humans, and therefore as means and resources. This separation seems to play a key role in today's civilizational crisis, often thematized in relation to the umbrella term of the Anthropocene. Domestication means power and control over a species. At the same time, it also creates a duty to nurture, to care for and to protect. Nonetheless, one that is being controlled, that is being cared for and protected, cannot be an agent of its own, and thus cannot be taken into account. In turn, it is the domesticator that needs to bear accountability. Instead of its paternalistic implications, however, I find this idea interesting in light of what Harari says about domestication. We did not domesticate wheat, it domesticated us. The word domesticate, as he points out, comes from the Latin domus, which means house. Who's the one living in the house? Not the wheat. It's the sapiens. The thought that by domesticating wheat, humankind domesticated itself suspends the concept of man being solely a dominator, and instead it unfolds its twofold nature. It implies a reading of humankind being its master and a prisoner of its own nature at the same time. Thus, it also implies that we are responsible for our environment, but also for ourselves, in terms of control, the dutiful care, and accountability. When thinking about humanity and the role of art, I find Donna Haraway's approach highly relevant, for that she takes a different perspective on responsibility by linking it to the notion of respect, understood as a form of responsibility, a capacity to respond. As the philosopher Fahim Amir says, responsibility takes its starting point from encounters with otherness, without absolutizing difference from the outset or hastily dissolving it into identity. Encounters with otherness, in which one develops a curiosity and looks back seriously, are starting points for rethinking one's own way of being and the constitution of the world. These encounters are far from innocent, but grasping their complex nature allows us to get a more complete and profound understanding of the world that we inhabit and that inhabits us. I believe that art at its best creates opportunities for such encounters and triggers our responsibility. As photographers, it is our paramount responsibility to see our work in context because of the Janus-faced nature of the medium. When used irresponsibly and in an immoral way, it can become the means of distancing, colonizing, aestheticizing, exoticizing, and commodifying others. When corrupted by neoliberal capitalism, photography becomes the mere means of producing immaterial goods that can be consumed endlessly in social media feeds, and the means of persuading people to buy things that they don't need, to pursue goals that they didn't even know that exist. At the same time, photography has the ability to make it visible what otherwise remains hidden, show those who may be unseen, and therefore enables us to meet and look that other in the eye and respond respectfully.